Remote work isn't killing productivity, it's revealing where leadership and systems fall short. For example, a Stanford call center trial found that when workflows were redesigned for remote settings, employees handled 13% more calls and attrition dropped by half. Yet, some companies still report 10 to 20% productivity declines when they simply move office processes online without adapting their management approach. Companies blaming remote work for missed targets often overlook the real cause: leadership that hasn't evolved. In this episode, we'll break down the data and highlight how top organizations like GIT Lab and Automatic have built high-performing distributed teams. Stick around to see what separates leaders who thrive remotely from those who struggle. If you're new here, please subscribe and like, because I share tips to help you improve your career. The shift to remote work has transformed more than just where people log in. It's forced organizations to re-examine the very systems that drive performance. Productivity metrics, management practices, and even the value of real estate are all under scrutiny. For example, about 30% of public companies own their headquarters, tying leadership to office-centric models that may no longer serve the business. Leaders accustomed to managing by presence are now challenged to focus on results, not just visibility. In one randomized NASDAQ call center trial, remote agents who benefited from redesigned workflows handled 13% more calls and saw turnover cut by half. This demonstrates that productivity gains come from rethinking processes, not just shifting locations. Companies like GIT Lab, which operates fully remotely and uses a transparent handbook approach to track deliverables, have shown that outcome-based systems can replace traditional desk-hour monitoring. Their $6 billion valuation underscores how systemic adaptation can drive both performance and growth. Traditional offices often create an illusion of productivity, where being seen can matter more than real output. Remote work removes that layer, exposing where the systems truly add value. Zapier, for instance, has built its culture around asynchronous, documented workflows, making communication and accountability clear, regardless of time zone. These examples reveal that the real test isn't remote work itself, but whether leaders can adapt their management systems and mindsets. That adaptation starts with a closer look at the habits and assumptions leaders bring to the table. Self-leadership is the foundation for navigating remote work challenges. Lars Sudman's framework highlights 3 essential skills: self-awareness, self-reflection, and self-regulation, abilities many leaders overlook when transitioning from the office to virtual environments. Leaders often carry over old habits, like relying on visual cues or spontaneous conversations, without realizing these don't translate digitally. Sudman's character traits check makes this tangible. One executive, after reflecting on a previous manager notorious for withholding updates, rated himself only 2 out of 5 on information sharing. This insight prompted him to proactively communicate non-urgent news, reducing team anxiety that once simmered in the absence of hallway conversations. These small acts of self-awareness can transform remote team dynamics. Self-reflection, the next pillar, is supported by research from the University of California showing that just 1 or 2 minutes of daily reflection can measurably boost compassion. Leaders who take time each evening or morning to review their actions, what worked, what didn't, become more attuned to subtle cues in digital communication. Marcus Aurelius ended each day by asking what went well and what he could improve. Just like today's remote leaders can do a quick evening review to catch miscommunications before they escalate. Finally, self-regulation means pausing before reacting, especially in high-pressure remote scenarios. When a project manager reframed a terse Slack message as a byproduct of time zone stress rather than disrespect, she demonstrated the value of stepping back and reassessing before responding. These practices help leaders separate personal preferences from evidence-based strategies, ensuring decisions serve the team, not just individual comfort. As self-leadership becomes second nature, leaders face the next challenge: fostering trust in teams they may never meet in person. If you're finding this helpful, please subscribe and like, because it helps us create content that matters to you. Also, if you want to take your skills further, check out our executive education and executive coaching programs at execbeat.com. Trust shapes the difference between high-performing remote teams and those that falter under micromanagement. Simon Sinek's research on Navy SEALs reveals that teams with high trust but average performance consistently outperform those with high skills but low trust. At the Four Seasons, this principle is visible in daily routines. Managers like Barista Noah's supervisors make a point to check in with frontline staff every day, asking what they need to succeed. Employees feel seen and valued, not just monitored for output. Concrete action cements trust. When Salesforce discovered pay disparities, they invested $3 million to balance salaries, showing that trust requires more than promises. Chris White's TEDx research highlights that remote workers disengage when leaders ask for feedback but never act on it. At Disney Europe, a finance director's honest account of navigating her son's dyslexia led to genuine changes in accessibility initiatives, proof that listening must lead to real inclusion, not just diversity surveys. Transparency is another pillar. GIT Lab's public salary formulas and open promotion criteria remove the guesswork and suspicion that come with closed-door decisions. Recognition, too, shifts in a remote world. Automatic, for example, sends handwritten thank you notes to contributors, showing that appreciation is personal, not performative. Building trust in dispersed teams isn't about grand gestures. It's about daily choices that replace presence with proof. The question is no longer where your team works, but how you lead when the familiar cues are gone. Remote work has already transformed leadership. Just look at the Stanford Core Center trial, where redesigned workflows led to a 13% increase in calls handled and halved attrition. The real challenge now is personal. Are you willing to examine your own habits and adapt? Tonight, take 5 minutes to reflect. What was your worst leadership experience and what made it so? How transparent are you with information? These questions help you see where your leadership can evolve for a remote world. Comment below, which self-leadership habit will you start tomorrow? Decide now, will you adapt like GIT Lab or cling to old norms? Share your plan below. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like, because it helps us bring you more free videos. And if you're ready to grow your career, visit execbeat.com to learn about our executive education and coaching.